Casio is fortunate enough to have a number of legends under their brand, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of those. This is the Casio AE1200WH, but it has a much easier to remember name, and that is the Casio Royale. This one has been around for a long time, and it has a reputation as one of the best values in Casio's digital watch lineup. So let's have a closer look at this world timer and see exactly what makes this one so special. Let's start with the strap itself. And the AE1200WH comes with a black resin strap that's both comfortable and lightweight. This resin material is inexpensive and it holds up great under daily wear and tear, which is perfect if you're on the go because the watch is so light and easy to wear. It's a very functional strap, but it's pretty basic. Not too many bells and whistles, but I find that it holds in place quite well. It fits perfectly on my 6.5-inch wrist. If you have a bigger wrist, it is going to fit it, but if you have a smaller one, you can still pull this watch off. And if you're someone who doesn't like these basic black resin straps, this is a perfect candidate for a strap switch. You can find a ton of different options for this watch, including stainless steel and NATO straps. Moving on to the clasp, the AE1200WH uses a standard tang buckle, which is both simple and reliable. Because this is made from a resin and not a metal, you're guaranteed it's not going to rust or corrode over time. And while the clasp is nothing fancy, so is the watch in general, but it gets the job done. Let's talk some case and then let's talk some face. And the case is one of the standout features of this watch. It's an extremely wearable 39.5 millimeters, and it's a rectangular shape, so I find it fits perfectly on my wrist. It is not a bulky watch, even though it's much larger than something like an F91W, but that's incredibly small, whereas this is just a good size. It's also not too thick, so I find it fits easily under my jacket or any sort of a shirt sleeve. And it's only weighing in at 39 grams, so that's one of the advantages with this resin material. You can have nice good size but not too big watches like this, and they're still incredibly light and all day wearable. Talking about the watch face itself, this is really the reason why so many people like to buy this watch. It is such an interesting, retro at this point, looking face. You get a full-time time readout with the seconds. It'll tell you if you're on daylight savings time, tells you the day of the week as well as the month and the date. In the top right section, it's going to tell you if there's an alarm that's going to be going off, as well as if the hourly signal is turned off or on. And then it also gives you this excellent little map. Now, is this the most useful map in the world? No, but does it look super cool? Yes. The map is going to also correspond to the time zone you're in. This is a world time traveler sort of a watch, so the animation or the highlighted area on the map is going to change as you switch times. So maybe it's not a necessary feature, but it's an appreciated feature, and it gives this watch a certain je ne sais quoi. On the top left of the watch face, you find a permanent analog time readout. I love the digital analog sort of thing myself. You have a digital watch, but you can still use it in analog fashion if you would prefer. But the great thing about this analog watch is that stays current no matter what function you're doing. So you can be on your timer, you can be measuring something on your stopwatch, but you can still look at the top left of your watch face and see the current time. I love that feature, and I really love to see it on inexpensive Casios. The watch face itself is protected by mineral glass, which definitely isn't the toughest material out there, but it is okay for casual use. Mineral glass is going to be prone to scratches over time. Even though this watch is quite new, I've got a couple surface scratches on there already. So if you're really rough on your watches, you're gonna notice more scratches on this one, but it's totally fine for a watch at this price point. And the great news about this watch is there's a lot of accessories out there, so if you ever want to replace the mineral glass, there is options to do so. One area where the AE1200WH really shines is the battery life. It's powered by a CR2025 battery, and that's going to last up to 10 years. And they are so confident of that fact, they even print that directly on the dial. It says 10-year battery life. I usually don't like seeing that kind of stuff on there because it's unnecessary, but in this case I actually like it because it's red and it just gives a little pop of color to the watch face. So it's very inexpensive, but this has a date auto calendar as well, so it truly is a set it and forget it kind of watch. 10 years of battery life, you're not gonna beat that. The Casio Royale is really designed for the world traveler who likes wearing inexpensive Casio watches. Right on the home face itself, you have that map. That map never goes away, and it always stays illuminated for which time zone you have it set in. But right from the watch face itself, you have 4 different time zones available by pressing this bottom right button, and you can change what time zones these are going to represent as well. Another great feature that goes with the world time is this has a time swap feature. So what that's going to do, let's say I'm in Vancouver and I have 5 alarms set and I'm traveling to New York and I want to keep those alarms set. I want to still get up at 6 in the morning, I still want to go to the gym at 10 or whatever it is. If I just change the time, this is going to be going off at 6 in the morning Vancouver time, 10 a.m. Vancouver time. So what you can do instead is do a time swap. So whenever I have a different time zone set, I can do this either in the world time mode or on my home screen here. I can just select an alternate time zone and press the top 2 buttons at the same time. You're gonna hear that double beep, and that's to let you know that your watch has swapped time zones with whichever one you were looking at. So if I was looking at New York, now this is at New York time, and my alarms stay set to the same relative time in New York. So I'm still getting up at 6, still going to the gym at 10. Great feature to see on this inexpensive watch. For nighttime use, this does have an illuminator backlight built into it, which can be accessed by pressing the top right button. Now, one thing that's great about this watch, this has afterglow, meaning that when you press the button, this is going to stay illuminated for either 1 or 3 seconds. And you can select between the 1 or 3 seconds when you're setting up your watch. I think this is a great feature to have on here. You don't often see this on these inexpensive watches, usually not even the afterglow, let alone the afterglow where you can select from different time durations. Overall, the backlight does a really good job at lighting up the screen, though you may struggle a little bit with the corners, but that's not uncommon with this type of watch. Let's take a closer look at the module, and I mean, that is a very interesting looking watch face. You have that upper right section, you have that classic map, that's going to change, as you can see, with the time zone. Time zone changes, map changes. Let's go ahead and do that time swap. You see that? Now time zone 1 is back in YVR. I'll show you that one more time. Let's say we're in London. Swap it out for London. And now we're at London time. And you see YVR is in our T3 position. And then up top, that's where your analog clock is going to live. And that's going to be available to you at all times. So to set this watch, we're gonna hold our upper left button, just like on any Casio. Press your bottom left to move in between all of the different settings. And because this is a world time watch, it's going to give you some different options as compared to a few other models. That is where you can change the afterglow time, which is very, very cool to see. And when this is asking you for the year, that means this has Casio's auto calendar feature, meaning this is going to account for leap years up until the year 2099. We go to our next feature here, and this is our world time. This is where you can see the best animation. If you hold this button down in the map, you can see it moving along there, but this has an option for pretty much anywhere you are in the planet. And so you can access that anywhere. And if you find a place that you do travel to, for example, you can just press these top 2 buttons to switch it out with that time swap feature. Now, the great news is that in the top left, that's our current time as per our current time location. So that's going to be available to you at all times. We go to our next feature. This has an alarm. Now you have 5 different alarms here, as well as the ability to turn the hourly signal on and off. You can see that go in the top right window when I turn that on or off. Now, one thing that's very interesting here, when I go to set this alarm, you see it says 1 on or off. Now, when 1 on, that means this alarm is going to go off 1 time. So if I set this for 12, it's going to go off at midnight and it is not going to go on again. If I set this for on, then it's going to go off at midnight every single night. Kind of an interesting feature. I haven't seen this on another Casio, but I gotta say, I kind of like it because you don't always want to set an alarm for every single day. You just want to set it for one specific thing. So we go to our next feature here, and that's going to be the timer. This is a full 24-hour timer, and it has a back button, right? You don't have to just go one way like some other watches. So you can set this for 4 hours. Let's do 4 hours, 21 minutes, and 2 seconds. Once that's locked in, press that button to start the timer, and then you notice it has this sub-second count up there, which I like. And if I want to stay on my timer, know how much is left at all times, I still have access to my time. You see why that's such a handy feature? I don't have to go all the way back to my home watch face to find what time it is. Now we go to our next setting here. We have our stopwatch. This is going to be your standard stopwatch. If you want to use it in the standard manner, that's going to be start, stop, reset it like that. Or we can do a split time. If you want to get a lap time, for example, you see it says split. Split is at 3:35, and then we can go back to our regular time. Now we're at our normal stopwatch, reset it like that. Or you can do first and second place time, start our watch like that. Then we'll do our first place time is at 4:12. We do our second place time here, and then to see what the second place time was, press that, and it was 7:42, and then we can reset it. 3-setting stopwatch, they're easy to use once you read the instruction manual, but most people will only use the first option. Then we press that again, we are back to our regular home watch face, and you can go through those times, those 4 time zones, just by pressing this bottom right button, which I really like. And if you want to change one of these, you don't want it to Paris, you can do it like that. So now it's in Berlin is going to be our time zone 2, and then we can swap that out at any time if we want, or we can just go back to our regular old Vancouver time, which is where we're currently at. So what are my favorite things about the Casio AE1200WH? Well, the first thing is that 10-year battery life. Even though this isn't solar, you do not have to worry about changing your battery out anytime soon. I really like the module and the world time function on this. Not only does that map give it a little bit of charm, but the world time is very practical, and that time swap comes in handy when you're traveling. Finally, I really like how affordable, lightweight, and wearable this watch is. You do not notice this thing on your wrist. It's not at all taxing to wear this days at a time even, and it's just such an affordable, functional watch that Casio really excels at. The Royale isn't perfect though. What are a few downsides? Well, the first is that mineral glass screen. I don't think this is any different mineral glass than I have on my other Casios, but I notice I already have a few scratches on this one, where some Casios I've had for a longer time that are still scratch-free. I'd love to see a little more clarity on that map graphic. When you're looking, you can definitely see which area is illuminated, but if they used a green background or something like that, I think it would stand out even better. Overall, the Casio AE1200WH offers incredible value for the price. Between the 10-year battery life, world time feature, and then that classic retro design, it's a great option for anyone looking for an affordable, functional watch that doesn't compromise on practicality. I'd love to see an upgrade of the mineral glass screen, but I don't think that's realistic to ask for a watch at this price point. So if you're looking for a fun, retro, practical Casio that is truly designed for traveling, the Casio AE1200WH might be exactly what you want.